Welcome back to the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, and welcome to December. I am doing something different that I've never done before, just to challenge myself to think outside the box, do something a little bit different than I have before on the show. And that is to go through the over 500 episode archives that I have since beginning the Awakening Women pivot back in 2019.
Wouldn't it be nice to maintain your weight this holiday season? You may even shed some extra pounds. I gotta tell you about Lipozene. Lipozene contains glucomannan, a dietary fiber that helps you feel full faster. In fact, clinical studies show glucomannan supports weight management when combined with diet and exercise. Just take 2 capsules before meals. It's that simple. With over 35 million bottles sold, Lipozene has been America's #1 selling diet supplement for 8 years. Use code PODCAST to start your trial for only $29.95. Order now at Lipozene.com. That's Lipozene.com. Terms and conditions apply. Visit Lipozene.com for full details and disclaimers.
In 2020, so I've been recording episodes on this topic of narcissistic abuse, emotional abuse, and relationships over 500 episodes later since 2019, 2020. So I've been doing this a long time. I've worked with a lot of women. I've coached a lot of groups of women, and I've recorded a lot of podcasts. So I thought, there's probably a lot of episodes that you have not gone far enough back to listen to. So what I'm doing is bundling up certain topics and playing them within the episode, because usually my episodes are around 20 minutes. And I know some people I've heard on occasion, I like the longer episodes. I wish your episodes were longer. Well, the thing is my natural bandwidth or natural, I'm not like a super talkative person that can go on and on and on. Like some people can sit and talk to the mic for an hour. That's not me. I find I have a natural endpoint at about the 15 to 20 minute mark. And so I thought I will bring back some of the best of episodes and put them in one episode to make longer episodes. So in this one, I'm going to be doing this over the month of December, by the way, and give it a try, see how it goes. I'll see how it goes based on metrics and downloads. Honestly, that's a good way to know, as well as your feedback. So make sure you pop into my Instagram DMs and let me know if you like this, because this is a one-way conversation, and the introvert in me loves that part. But yet I don't get the feedback. I do get feedback. I shouldn't say I don't get feedback. I get a lot of positive feedback, but maybe not in real time. So come into our free Awakening Women Collective Facebook group and share what you're learning from the show. Let me know if you like these longer episodes where I'm highlighting older stuff from the archives. All right, so in this one, we're talking really about parenting and the challenges within that if you are living with a narcissistic, destructive, abusive, high conflict, difficult partner. And the challenges that arise in that are not the same thing as a couple maybe in a healthier dynamic would be dealing with. Now, again, I have worked with so many women in varying depths, from working with them for almost up to 2 years privately and very closely, to 30 days in my programs, or anywhere between 3 months and 6 months, depending on the programs that I've run. So there's varying degrees in there of how in depth I've worked with women, but there are things that just remain to be true across the board. And one of them is the challenges of parenting in these relationships, and the challenges of navigating separation and divorce when you have children with them. And so in these episodes, we're talking about why the kids take things out on you and they blame you for everything. You might notice that you get a lot of the brunt of things where they act out toward you. They're getting angry at you, and then they're super nice and compliant and they listen to their dad, right? And in this case, as we're talking about, is women in relationship with men. So you're dealing with this with your children's father. So let's talk about it in the context that it's given. And so I've seen some pretty gnarly stuff happen with women as they're trying to navigate this and as they're trying to extricate themselves from it and separate themselves from it. The stuff that goes on is quite crazy making. And it's very common for them to start acting like the perfect dad and showing up 100% when they haven't been doing that before. And so when you're carrying the load on your own, doing it all, it is a heavy burden to bear. And that is not counting the burden of the emotional abuse, the neglect, the manipulation, the crazy making tactics, the gaslighting, the fights that come out of nowhere, the mood swings, like all of that stuff you're contending with on a daily basis. And it's so hard for you to know, what kind of mother would I be when I'm not in this? Or what would my mental health really be like if I'm not in this? What would I be doing differently? How would I be more successful and maybe doing something different in my career, vocation, my business? Maybe I'd start a business. Maybe, as one of our former ETC members, I interviewed Autumn here. She wrote a book after getting out. And so is there something else that you would be capable of doing that you just don't have the bandwidth in this situation? You see, we only have so much energy and mental bandwidth in a day. And if you are doing everything and more, and you have your children acting out toward you, and you're having to put out fires and deal with that on your own, that is a lot for one woman to carry. And so I'm here to support you. If you would like some mentorship to help you with your parenting and navigating these dynamics, make sure to book a next level call with me. I'm taking calls now to enroll either into my End the Cycle program or a one-on-one package. So if you want some mentorship for how to navigate these very difficult times with children, you can't just, it's not the same. It's not that it's not difficult without children in the mix, but it is a whole other level when you do. And I get it. So I'm here to support you. So head to the link in the show notes to book that call, or check out whatever else I have in the links there for courses and other things to support you. All right, so let's dive into those episodes.
Frustrating about co-parenting or parenting with a narcissistic partner is that you're going to find that you are doing the majority, if not all, of the behind the scenes stuff that your kids require. This includes things like noticing that they may need to have counseling, noticing that they are struggling with their mental health, noticing that they are having an ongoing health issue that the normal everyday physician isn't really addressing, so you need to look for alternative health care. You are the one that knows when they have a dental issue that needs to be figured out, or they're due for their cleaning or their eye exam, or supplements or certain foods that they need to eat to feel their best, or just any run-of-the-mill stuff that is actually what parenting is. You're going to find that you are doing most of it, if not all of it. These types of fathers are really good at trying to look good to outside people. Everyone thinks they're these wonderful stand-up fathers when really they're not doing any of the parenting. If you look at it, they're not parenting, they're not guiding them, they're not expanding and helping them to grow through their own personal growth. They don't have the wisdom to teach their children. If one of their teenage children or older children go to them to tell them about something that's going on, they're not really asking questions and showing actual interest. They can act the part, but they're not really listening. And if your child was to go to them to say, hey, I'm feeling sad or I'm depressed or these kind of things are happening, they're going to minimize it and absolutely invalidate the kid, right? So you're the one that has to go in and clean up all the messes. If there's issues between your kids, you're the referee, you're the one trying to figure out what's going on, how to fix it, what counseling you need to book, what books you need to read, you're online looking, you're listening to parenting podcasts. You are the one that is doing it all. And I just want to put this here for you. If you are just feeling fucking exhausted from feeling like you're taking on everything when it comes to parenting. And it can be really frustrating, But at the same time, you're going to find that he's going to fight against you because he's not interested in the behind the scenes stuff. The stuff that really matters, that's going to help your kids grow up healthy, happy, and whole with life skills to manage life, right? So he's not looking for counselors for them if they're struggling. He doesn't really know what's going on because they only talk to you. He has no idea what the costs are involved in alternative health care and the supplements and things that you have to do because he's not taking them. And, you might go to him with like, hey, we need to get some counseling sorted, and he's going to, not agree to want to pay for it. He's going to think it's not, up there with his priority list. And so you're going to have to be making decisions and taking on these expenses for your kids, because you're not going to want to spend the rest of your life, whether you're still with this person and you're finding this, when you're listening to this, you're like nodding your head. Yep, I've been doing it all. And then some. While he gets to ride in and look like Mr. Wonderful Father, but I'm the one keeping this whole show going. And I'm one person, right? And kids do need at least one healthy parent that's showing up, that's doing their best. So that would be you, because you're listening. So I'm speaking to you that I'm sorry to have to say this, but it's on you, Mama. It's on you, because he's not going to step up and do it. He's not going to know that the kids need something extra, that they need to go see a doctor, or that they might need to go see a therapist and deal with what's going on, because he's not intimately involved in their lives the way that you are. And so you have to really look at, what you're capable of, and also what supports you need to have in place. What are the finances you need to have in place? Because even if you were to leave this relationship, especially a partner that is financially abusive and controlling with the funds, is like he's not willing to help pay for things, like you're taking on everything, is that when you, and if you separate, it's only going to get worse. You think he's going to willingly pay half of everything? He's going to find reasons why he doesn't have to. There are so many stories of legal orders being placed for fathers to pay a child support payment that aren't paying them. They skirt the law, they fudge it, they fudge numbers, they hide income, they do all kinds of really freaking messed up things, really shady stuff. And so, if you're one of those people that's like, hey, he's a good dad, well, really think about that. Because a good dad would be like, yes, their mental health matters. Send me half the bill. Absolutely, I'm in. That's like a top priority. I will, if I have to, I'll reduce expenses in these other areas for a time, because yes, the kids' mental health, they need to go to counseling. That's a priority. If they need some kind of other types of medical care, like I said, alternative health care, naturopath care, whatever that might be, yes, their health matters. I'm in. Just let me know how much it's going to be and we'll figure it out. No, that's not going to happen. It's going to be you. So my message here is, if it's on you, what do you need to do to make sure that you are taking care of you? Because the kids did not ask for this. They did not ask to be born. They did not ask to be born into a family with this type of dynamic going on. And we have to look at our part in it, that we have allowed this to go on for so long. And now, what are we going to do about it? Now that we see that this is just not workable, that it's not going to get better, it's only going to get worse when you have a co-parent, we'll call him. I hate to say partner, because these men are not actually partners. And a parent isn't just about planting the seed and saying, yes, my DNA has made these children. A parent is one that shows up, that's taking them to medical appointments, that is doing that grueling behind the scenes stuff that, we're doing it all. It's not fun. It's not fun, right? I'm sitting here for, I don't know how many times now, while one of my daughters has one of her health appointments. And I usually end up recording these podcasts while I'm waiting because that's important to me, to make sure that my kids are getting the things that they need to be healthy. And I will support them for the rest of my life in that however I can, because to me, that is the most important, that they're healthy and happy and well balanced, and that they have tools to be able to cope with life's shitstorms, right? So if you are in this too and you understand what I'm saying, then it's time for you to really step up and into that role. And here's something that I say to the ladies I coach. He's not going to change. Okay, so imagine this 5-10 years down the road, same thing's going on, if not worse. It's getting worse. He's doing less and less. He's fighting more and more with things you're asking. You're getting more exhausted. Your health is going down the drain. Your mental health is suffering. And he's not going to change. So just sort of look into that future, okay? And if that's the case, and you're in a place where you're like, no, I can't leave. I don't want to leave. I'm not ready to leave, which is fine, because we can just see that as that this is just where you're at right now. What do you need to let go of, and what do you need to step into and fully claim and own, given that he is not going to do X, Y, and Z? He is not going to prioritize this, that, and the other, even though you've asked him and pleaded with him and tried to explain 100 ways how you need his cooperation and his teamwork and his collaboration. He's not interested in that. You can see that, right? He just makes things harder. So given that, what do you need to do? And you start doing it now. That's the advice I give women who are still in the relationship and they're dealing with a partner that thinks, I shouldn't have to help with the housework. I've been gone all day. Maybe you work from home, especially right now with the pandemic. A lot of work has turned remote, right? So, or maybe you work part-time and you're also at home and he's gone maybe all day. And so you've been at home all day with kids, or maybe you have to go to work at night. You know, there's all these different scenarios, but as a mom, you're juggling a lot of things, right? And so he comes home and all the housework isn't all done, and he thinks, I shouldn't have to do this. I haven't been here all day. I shouldn't have to unload the dishwasher. None of these dishes are mine. I have barely been home. I shouldn't have to take the garbage out. I've been gone all weekend playing at a ball tournament. Why should I have to take the garbage out? Meanwhile, you were at home that whole weekend with the children so he could go play. That is entitlement at its finest. They think they are entitled to not have to do shit they don't want to do. If they don't think it should be asked of them, don't even bother asking, because it will be not worth your energy and time. That's what you're dealing with when you're with a narcissistic, abusive partner. They may show times where they can be attentive and helpful and do the dishes and mop the floors and pull the vacuum out, but you watch and you will see that is very short-lived. It burns out really quick, only for you to find yourself right back into the same stuff of nagging and trying to get him to pull his own weight, to get him to show up as a partner. And if you're with someone that truly is narcissistic, that's why you're seeing this, because that's the whole thing with narcissism, is it's all about me. And they may not say it outright, but everything that they do communicates that. And it's that I don't see anyone else around me and what they need. I'm just thinking, it's not fair you're asking this of me. It's not fair you're asking me to do stuff around the house. I shouldn't have to. Imagine if both people said that in a household. I shouldn't have to. Where would you be? So it's really important that you see things for what they are. And this message was really just like burning within me. I had to hit record on this because it was just so relevant to something that I'm personally dealing with. And I just was thinking, there's a lot of women I coach in my program who are dealing with this. They're trying to get their partner to show up and parent. Like trying to get their partner to stop feeding their kids endless supplies of candy. Well, duh. Like, why would you not want to do that as a parent? Why would you not see that as important to limit the amount of crap food your kids are eating? Right? because they're not paying attention to that. They don't care. Or letting your kid ride their bike in the middle of the street. Like, I've just heard some crazy stuff without a helmet on. So be mindful of these wonderful fathers that like to portray how good of a dad they are. But yet behind the scenes, they're not doing any of the stuff that actually matters, that actually makes you a parent. You can be a dad by planting a seed, or you can be a parent that steps in as an equal toe-to-toe partner with your children's mother and come together as a team. But you're not going to get that, sadly, with someone like this. It's the hardest thing to accept. But the sooner you accept it, then you can start to reclaim your power and stop trying to get him to.
Wouldn't it be nice to maintain your weight this holiday season? You may even shed some extra pounds. I got to tell you about Lipozene. Lipozene contains glucomannan, a dietary fiber that helps you feel full faster. In fact, clinical studies show glucomannan supports weight management when combined with diet and exercise. Just take 2 capsules before meals. It's that simple. With over 35 million bottles sold, Lipozene has been America's #1 selling diet supplement for 8 years. Use code PODCAST to start your trial for only $29.95. Order now at Lipozene.com. That's Lipozene.com. Terms and conditions apply. Visit Lipozene.com for full details and disclaimers.
Change and become what you're hoping one day he's going to magically wake up and become, because you're only just losing yourself more each time that you do try to do that.
Women podcast. I wanted to hit record because I just got off of a client session where we were talking about some things that she is experiencing that made me realize that I needed to touch on this subject here on the podcast. And that is how living with an abusive person, someone with high narcissism, narcissistic, NPD, somewhere on the spectrum, especially when you're experiencing covert abuse that is insidious and really hard to spot, how this makes you look like you're the problem. This happens with kids in the home. This could happen outside. It happens in counseling settings where you are pinned as the problem. And the reason why this happens, the biggest reason I believe, is that it's because your kids are seeing you reacting, so they think you're the problem. Or because you're bringing up an issue that really is a problem, or something that is happening that you don't like, or you're raising your dislike to a covert comment, jab, action, words that only you understand what they mean, and you're responding to it and you're raising the issues and it starts a fight, you look like the one who's always starting the fight. And because you're always told you're the one that just wants to fight and start a fight and be difficult, it becomes the energy and dynamic of the home that mom is the problematic one. And this creates so much doubt with women in these situations because they really believe, well, maybe it is me. Maybe it is that I have to try harder. I have to stop reacting. Maybe I need to just let some things go, and on. Just how can I make this so that we are not continuing to have these things happening in front of the kids? But what is happening is that you, if this is you and you're resonating with this, that you then are taking on the responsibility of the person who's choosing to be abusive and manipulative and gaslighting and not taking any of the blame. You then are taking on the blame for someone who needs to be taking their own blame and ownership. And so then you think that if I can just control this and I can stop reacting and I can stop getting into these arguments with him by not bringing up any of my grievances, then it's going to be okay. But in that process, you shut yourself down, you become numb, you become angry, you become resentful, your physical health starts to deteriorate because you're in a sick environment, you're in a toxic environment with all this going on. And you underneath it are questioning, am I really a bad parent? Am I really doing a horrible shit job here? When in reality, you feel like you're constantly spinning your wheels trying to keep all the balls in the air because they are not engaged. They're not fully involved. They come and go as they please. They expect you to just be there no matter what it is you're doing, taking care of the house and the kids and everything else that goes into running a home, while they can come and go, and somehow you're made to feel like you expect too much, or that you asking them to pick up after themselves or do a certain thing in the house is too much. They're asking too much. Or, they resist it, or they won't do it, or they start a fight when you ask, or they list off all the other things that they do instead of just doing the thing that you're asking. It starts to look to those around you like you are the problem because of this dynamic, and because you're experiencing those covert jabs, those words that were meant just for you, that comment that was tailored just to hit you right where they know it's going to hit you. It could be done quietly, under their breath, in the kitchen when no one's around, and boom, you blow up, you're triggered, you react, you're the one that looks like the problem. They stand back and look like, oh wow, you are crazy, like calm down. So you look like the problematic one. And the really difficult thing here is, this is something I see with so many women I've worked with. So it's not an isolated thing, it's a pretty common thing where the kids start to see the same thing. They start to think that you're the problem. So they will say things like, just don't start a fight, or mom, just don't say anything, or, they'll get involved, try and diffuse the situation, which is really toxic for the kids, by the way, when that is happening, where they feel like they have to try and control the environment, or they try to control mom because they feel like that's the only person that they could maybe influence, because they know they can't influence the other, right? So they might tell you need to stop reacting, or that you're always so cranky, or you're always so angry, or you're this or that, or you say mean things to dad, but it's usually in response to ongoing mistreatment. So yes, you could say, yes, I've said those things. Yes, I have snapped. Yes, I say nasty things, because they're not seeing the other stuff that's going on underneath. They're not seeing the comments that are made in another room, in the car when you're alone, when you're in bed at night, the things that are happening outside of their ears potentially, not always. Sometimes it's happening right in front of them, but they don't see it for what you see it for. So they only see your reaction, your response. They see that you're cranky, that you're angry, that you are pissed, that you're bitter. Yes, you are all those things. And so that becomes the topic when you're in a therapy session, right? Becomes the topic. You're the one that's problematic because you're always losing your shit, or losing your mind, or snapping, or getting triggered. So again, you are painted as the problem. And this is really difficult to navigate, and to find professionals, or anyone really outside of the situation, that could actually understand. You feel like you have to somehow explain it in 500 different ways to make somebody understand what you're going through. And again, this happens a lot in the therapy setting, where it's getting missed and women are being pointed as the problem because they're reacting. So what is in your power here? From this day forward, we can let go of everything else, ways you've reacted up till now, that you could say, yes, I was not my best self. Yes, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. That was not me. You can look back and you can see your mistakes, right? We look at our own mistakes. We see where we've made errors when we weren't our best selves due to the condition of the relationship, due to the dynamics, due to being burned out, due to doing everything and feeling alone and not like you actually have a partner. Yes, all of those things are there, and you snap when they treat you in ways that hurt. So that is not to blame you. It's to say, okay, I didn't know at the time what I know now, that I can choose to not react. Because your reactivity gives power. It gives energy to whatever it is that he's doing or not doing. And it gives ammunition to be used later on down the road, that you said this or that in that moment, that he said something he didn't even mean that way, that you took wrong, but then you went and said this, and so you're the problem. Your empowerment tip is to stop reacting. And I know that sounds really hard. It involves work. It involves certain practices and rituals and ways of processing emotion, processing feeling, staying in reality, being in your body so that you don't react. And it's not that you will never react, but you will get to a place where you're able to regulate your emotions, regulate your nervous system so that you're not reacting in those same ways. But it's not easy when you're living in the pressure cooker. And you often, most times, won't see what this dynamic is doing to you and how you're responding to it until you get out on the other side and get to actually feel who you are and how you operate in your day-to-day, how you parent, how you show up. When you're not living in that dynamic, you will get to actually get back in touch with your authentic self, who you are. And the person that you've become in this relationship has been in survival mode. You've been trying to survive. You've been in trauma for however many years, right? There's those different types of traumas I'm not going to get into here, but ongoing, daily, continual, relentless abuse and digs and gaslighting and all that I know you're going through, and I see you and I hear you and I get it completely. It is impacting you. You are not your best self. So it's recognizing that it is making me sick and it's making my kids sick, and it is not all my fault. Yes, we can look at where we have a part to play in the situation and in the dynamic, and sometimes the only part you play is staying in it, continually trying to fix it, overlook things, and make it better. It's also where you are going into trying to control things, where you are taking more ownership for everything than is yours. It's overlooking what's right in front of you and trying to make it seem like it's all okay. So while, yes, your reactions are your responsibility, and being in a situation like this, it's going to be very hard not to react. Those are your pieces. Most times when you're in these types of situations, if you're truly dealing with a narcissistic partner where there's the gaslighting and all of the entitlement and the lack of taking ownership and cannot talk about issues, cannot address issues without it turning into just a horrible fight that leaves you in shambles. You know, it's a very different type of abuse, and only those who have experienced it can even grasp it. That's the reality. But if you're in that, your biggest issue is that you need to do the work to get yourself out of it because it's harming you and it's harming your kids. All right, so that is what I want to touch on. It's a bit of a heavy subject, a big subject, but I just wanted to put that out there because I know that you could be listening to this, blaming yourself, feeling like your kids don't like you, that you are the problem, your spouse or partner, if you want to call it that, is making you look like you are the problem. And so then you start to gaslight yourself and believe that you must be making things up, that they're really not that bad, and that really it is all your fault. And then it's looking at, where did I first get that programming that something that was not my fault was my fault? And a lot of times we can really trace it back to some kind of childhood experience or traumatic event where you were not supported in the way you needed to be and somehow were blamed that something was your fault, or maybe that was just an ongoing pattern in your childhood. So this is where we take ownership for our own healing in the process so we can become stronger and no longer align with unhealthy relationship dynamics. All right, take care. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Awakening Women podcast. If you love this show and it has served you and helped you on your journey, please take a moment right now and leave a rating and review in iTunes and Spotify. If you'd like more daily content, videos, and inspiration, come on over and join me at Awakening Women Support Official over on Instagram, where we can connect and you can continue your transformation and growth journey. And I'll see you online. Take care.
People buy all sorts of things with Visa. What people buy is their business. But protecting every transaction, that's Visa's business. That's why Visa checks over 500 data points on transactions to help stop fraud before it happens. Over the last 5 years, Visa has invested $11 billion into fraud prevention and network security technology. And last year, Visa prevented more than $40 billion in attempted fraud. What you buy is your business. Protecting how you pay is Visa's.